Just look at certain things. All you gotta do is add it all up. There's no other fucking explanation for certain things. And I think in these areas where we're kind of out, we're not as big as other places, certain things don't get noticed, or things get slid under the carpet, basically. Then they just hide it and walk all over it. But it's still there. Just like the, you know,
Families handled roughly 2,500 cases. DCYF is in charge of protecting children from abuse and neglect, but that work can be tough on the people doing it.
sure.
Ashley Bork said,
Baloney. Complete baloney. That's not true.
says she was at work on November 27th, 2016, when she got a call from her mother that her 2.5-year-old daughter was dead.
Mom had Madison, and I grabbed her and I tried to make like Madison respond to me, and she was just lifeless. Her arms were just limp. Her head was just like this. Her eyes were glazed over. She had cuts and bruises all over herself.
Roger Dana, the child's father and Bork's boyfriend at the time, is on trial for first-degree murder. Prosecutors say he beat and sexually assaulted the toddler, telling police that the child had simply fallen from a bunk bed.
It was awful. Her face and head was more bruises and injuries than anything.
Prosecutors say Dana killed the child out of anger and frustration, but defense lawyers say there were plenty of other people in and out of Dana's apartment the day the child died. The police gathered dozens of pieces of evidence they never tested and selectively chose Dana as a suspect from the start of the case.
He was totally unfit to be a father. His behavior was unacceptable. But this is not a trial about whether or not he was fit to be a parent. It's a trial about one of the most serious crimes a person can be accused of.
If convicted of first-degree murder, Dana will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Just like, you know, every other incident that's happened, and you go and you look, just like now. How does a kid disappear for 2 years and nobody says anything? Maybe some people did say stuff, but nobody listened. Maybe the right people didn't listen. And you know how dangerous it is when the right people don't listen? That's what happened on 109 York Street in 2016. Because the people who were responsible for listening didn't. They ignored it. And if I have something happen to me because I have the proof of it, that's fine. But I 100% have proof of what I said even back in my other movie. It's wrong. And I think people need to start questioning the right people, making them answer to certain things. Because if they're being paid money and they're in charge of these entities and whatnot, what is the point of them if they don't work? Just saying.
This woman who doesn't want to be identified was a DCYF social worker from 2007 to 2009, spending about 60 to 90 days with each family. It was a really long 2 years of...
Who else is going to, you know? Look what happened for 2 years because I wasn't her voice, or I couldn't be, or nobody could hear me.
Where did you think Harmony was for the last 2 years?
I thought she was with her dad, and he was just being a jerk, really. That's what I hoped was happening, you know, but in my heart I knew something was wrong. And I was telling her, like, listen, this is affecting my mental health. I can't sleep, I'm super depressed, like, you know, my son's well taken care of, but me, personally, I was really sad, you know, like something right here all the time, just telling me, like, you gotta get her, you know, and I said to my therapist, I said, no one's hearing me. I've made reports. I've talked to desk people at DCF office because I didn't have a certain extension because Demetrius wasn't on the case anymore, which was the person that was supposed to remove her that didn't. He knew Adam personally. He was Adam's DYS counselor. So he was a conflict of interest.
And you start looking at shit, like, with your own eyes and whatnot, and you're starting to connect dots and be like, what the fuck?
Just feeling like you were climbing up a hill that was never going to get
Mhm.
never going to get to the top. The primary reason for that, she says, was the caseload. You cannot sustain a caseload of, 30, 40, 50, whatever, for a long period of time. You can't expect that your workers are going to do that. Depending on the kind of work being done, the national average caseload can vary. But a New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services spokesperson says the national average is roughly 12 per employee. In addition to being understaffed, the former worker says there was a lack of support by management. Well, that's really why I left, because I felt like, if I was going to be up all night and not sleeping and, worrying about these little kiddos, that the agency should at least be giving us the tools that we needed to be able to provide them with safety. After 2 children with ties to DCYF were murdered in recent years, their mothers were convicted, and their deaths prompting an investigation. An independent reviewer determined the division is in fact severely understaffed and recommends increasing the number of social workers, improving the training for those workers, increasing the number of supervisors, and enforcing a strict 60-day policy for completing assessment.
Where?